Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCT Challengers. We are well on our way in our new bracket here for this weekend. We've already had a great match to start things off. 100 Thieves able to take down Anbox in 2-0 fashion, sending Anbox to the lower bracket and 100 Thieves onward into the semifinals. We do have a corrected bracket to take a look at really quickly here, just so you guys have the correct one. Like we said, there was a slight error with the previous one we took a look at, and now you can see it here before you. 100 Thieves making it forward, sending Anbox down into the lower bracket, and of course, our second stream match still well on its way if you're interested in checking that out. It's Cloud9 Blue versus Immortals, and they should be heading into the third map, if not already in the third map, very, very soon.
Honestly, I'm very excited that was the update. When we saw the 2-0 from Immortals, I honestly, I'll be honest, I was a little sad. I saw Cloud9 Blue playing so well throughout this tournament. I expected them to at least go farther once they got to the closed bracket. Obviously, going up against IMT, that's going to be a tall task, but at least they got one map. You want it to be a contest at a minimum.
Don't forget the storyline too, right? Like everybody kind of writing Cloud9 off a little bit since they don't have 10s anymore. And what do you know? Who qualifies and who doesn't?
Who even are those guys? I mean, come on.
That's another match. We're focusing on our side of the bracket over here in the meantime, as we're going to be heading into Envy versus V1 next. And specifically to start off, we can talk about the Envy lineup. Stokes, what do we have lining up here for this squad?
Oh man, am I excited when it comes down to Envy. Talking to some of the analysts from our analyst desk for Masters earlier on about this roster, and man, what a star-studded one it is. A lot of them telling me every single time they see Envy on the docket, they write them down to win everything, and I can't blame them. When we say star-studded, we absolutely mean it. All of these guys coming from different aspects, different walks of esports, but coming together now to be so dominant inside of Valorant. Definitely the star player inside this lineup for me has to be Victor. I mean, watching through those series yesterday, my God, man, that guy's aggression is just something else.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, we have version 1 V1 as well, rolling into this bracket with an upset of their own in the previous matchup, managing to take down FaZe in 2-1 fashion to push themselves through, leaving us with their current position inside of this tournament as well. And some really impressive stuff coming out from their individual players, specifically Penny standing out for me in their previous matchup, having some really, really solid results there from the Jet POV, and not the only one as well. It was kind of a quiet play from him. Zelsis also making significant impact for the squad in the previous matchup, and the other players great inside of the mid-round too, but my focus has got to be on those two aggressive players, Zelsis and Penny, making the consistent, serious impact in the mid-round that a team like this is going to need to succeed here today.
And you've got a fantastic backup of a core here as well. Effie's in player 1 coming from Gen G. Vanity coming in as that stable IGL for this squad. And he's found quite a bit of success. Granted, recently it's been a lot with the Bucky, but we're not going to hate on him just yet because 2.06 isn't out for competitive. But when it comes down to it, this roster definitely a scary one. I want to see what Penny can do, man. As you were talking about, this guy's so scary when it comes to this Jet play.
Speaking of Penny, he's our selected player for our head-to-head matchup looking at this game. And on the other side of the coin, we're going to have Victor, previously known as Food, for those who missed the rebrand. So he also having himself an absolutely barnstorming performance in the previous round. And you can see that translated in the stats here. About a 10 ADR difference between the two players. ACS as well, ahead by a factor of nearly 20 points there. Leading in a couple other categories, Penny's slightly ahead here, but I think Victor having the very, very slight edge between these two players. It is definitely going to be a clash of the Titans, though, inside of this best of 3 today.
Yeah, I think that this really is going to be who can possibly make a larger impact for their squad, because watching through those version 1 games, specifically on maps like Icebox, we really saw Penny come into his own, take control of that map, and start being so dominant. I want to see how Envy try and play around that.
We can take a look at the maps now and see where exactly this series is going to be headed here. Once again, a best of 3 for those who are just joining us and are unfamiliar with the format. Let's see where exactly we ended up on here for our map selection. Haven will be the starting battleground for these two very prominent teams here in our tournament today. Split and Ascent will follow that up if we need to play out our third map as well there. So we'll be going into V1's pick first on Haven, followed up by Envy's pick on Split.
And if we get down to it, which we might, there is an opportunity here, obviously. We'll finish it out with Ascent, which I feel like that map right there is the staple of Valorant. I feel like it's in every single best of 3 that I watch, and honestly, you can't knock it. It's going to wrap up the final of this best of 3, though, if we do end up getting to that point. But, folks, we're finally here. Envy versus version 1. Let's see what they can possibly do inside of this agent lineup.
Important to note, the win-loss record for both of these teams inside of this map pool as well is almost identical looking across the table. Just specifically talking about Haven, for V1, they've got a 14-3 record on it, and for their opponents, they've got a 7-2 record. That translates to a 78% win rating for Envy and an 82% win rating for version 1. So sitting very, very close here, 2 very even maps. Let's focus on the agents, though, as we're well into agent select here now and see what exactly we're going to get out of both of these teams.
Really liking what we have to offer across the board here. Both of these squads going with the dual duelist comp. So
here's the first thing that I'm worried about for V1 here. We're going back to Haven. You've got Mame on the Astra again. If memory serves me correctly, the last time this happened, that man went 16-0. So
yeah, actually your memory does serve you correctly. He didn't die. He didn't die at all, actually.
Pretty sure it was on this map too. So he's getting to dive right back into that battlefield a week later on the same agent and everything. You better watch out, man, because Mame has some crazy play capability to be made. And I mean, it was kind of quiet, right? There's a lot of potential assisting frags that he was able to get as well through being able to use Astra's ability. I'm a massive fan of this agent, so I'm going to be very excited to see Mame play it again. Even more excited to get to cast it. Is it? It's time, ladies and gentlemen, to get started with the pistol. Let's hop into it. It's V1 versus Envy, the start of the quarterfinals here inside of our challengers bracket. The winner moving forward into the semifinals of the upper bracket, the loser going down to the lower.
I swear you can say anything to me, but as long as you say it in that fashion, it's probably going to sound good. But I mean, hey, version 1 up against Envy. You're so right about this. Could be an electric one here. And we're already starting things off with some good reads by Crashies and the rest of Envy. Recon bolt out towards the lobby of C, but instead going to back off, or excuse me, A, but instead going to back off.
To see a pretty light rotate position being established here by Envy, being very amorphous with their capability to move onto the site if needed, not wanting to play contact for the B take itself. They are going to let V1 flood in for the most part. Getting some info off the recon dart there. Crashy's trying to spam into it. He's getting some damage, but now the chaos going to begin. Crashy's dueling his way back into the site, and Victor having some great results as well, taking down both Effie's and Penny. Crashy's in for the final frag as he takes down Vanity, and that is a smooth retake from Envy, allowing V1 to get the control, but never worrying, it seems, as they are able to make their way back into B, get that defuse with no problem whatsoever.
Oh, not at all. I mean, the crunch there from Envy, you could see them as soon as they heard that spike going down. They set up in both A and C link, go for that perfect pinch, fragging out everybody in between and finally getting that spike diffuse. Some solid stuff to start us off here from Envy is very early with utility usage when it comes to recon darts and everything else, but it's working out in their favor. And obviously, since Sova's got that 35-second timer, not that big of a deal. More than likely could be the best way to be using those. So we're going to see it once again to see if anybody will be lobby of A, but not going to find anyone. It's a window play, and it's the B execute once again for version 1 as they try to flood the main gate. Spike control on Reyna still. Omen in with everyone else. Crashies doesn't seem to be aware, but the rest of Envy definitely are. Finally, Vanity once again with the Bucky. We've been talking about this guy all day with this, but it's actually Effie's from back down the road that actually ends up getting one, and that's actually going to be the round. Going down in very awkward fashion, but still towards Envy.
Pretty straightforward round for Envy, and great capability to play that out inside of the B site. Great management of the scenario by FNS specifically, as he's able to leverage proper play to give himself a 4K and avoid, more importantly, getting overwhelmed and traded at any point during that anti-eco as well. Because of the fact, or excuse me, that was pretty aggressive buy. Just taking a look at it now, since V1 are actually still going to be on a save going into the third round here. So a little more firepower actually involved in that last round than I thought there had been. But either way, leaving V1 a little bit more vulnerable here going into the third round, because they're once again going to be working with primarily Sheriffs and Buckies, and Victor, the Spectre's still ringing true here as he gets the first strike once again inside of round number 3.
Yeah, that previous round, Effie's ended up buying an Ares. We had some Buckies as well, some Sheriffs in there as well. So as you were saying, an awkward buy that leads them to an even more awkward post-round here. They now have all Sheriffs and a Bucky. Penny already dead, player 1 to follow as well. But they're going to get some frags of their own, harming that NV economy. Finally, Mame, the man of the hour, back on top of it. But he'll actually die inside of this Haven. Down to Crashies, this 1 versus 2, and he's going to have quite the opportunity. If there's an operator that you want to be, if there's an agent, excuse me, that you want to be, it's definitely got to be Soba with that recon bolt. He's able to find the first one onto Effie's, the flick, and the delivery onto Vanity, who can't clutch it up with the Bucky. Crashies keeping Envy up on top of things, 3-0.
The scrap buy looking promising for V1 up until the very last second there. We see the clutch come out from Envy. They'll stay in control of things. A very unfortunate loss for V1. They've made great progress working their way onto the site, but were no match for Crashies, taking up great positioning, able to isolate these last 2 players into separate 1v1s and contain the duels for a very nice flick onto the second there as well. Great stuff from him, great stuff from Envy. They'll hold on to the lead, but at the same time, those are the scrap buys from V1. This is their first real purchase for the match. Time to get serious here now. Envy also bringing an op to the table too, so V1 are going to need to get serious about their own play here, as there's still a lot of threats working their way.
Now here's the problem. Version 1 from that force buy earlier on, now in some trouble. Instead of having that 3rd round where they're going to have rifles, it'll now be on the 4th, and Envy obviously have full utility as well as rifles, so this round going to be more hotly contested than what would have happened prior. But for version 1, instead of going for the full C throw and just trying to send it right in there like they have been doing with mid and B, instead they tend to swing things back now, going towards A with Spike and every single person they have in this lineup.
A lot of crossfire set up here on the short entry point. Could do serious damage. Crash is going to get spotted out, though. Force the fire in. Still able to translate a 1-for-1 ultimately, though. It's not too badly played at the end of the day here. Trades are going to continue to roll out, but ultimately into the favor of Envy. Oh, nearly seeing Effies complete the take on the A site, but shut down by the very final player in position there. Caboose seals the deal for Envy. Solidifies a 4th as those teams trade back and forth, ultimately into Envy's favor on the A site.
It's just so difficult for version 1 to try and get on a site right now, no matter what they do, Blue. Even starting off on C, trying to bait some utility and move some NV members over towards that side of the map. They go for the rotation, they go for the swing, but it just doesn't happen. I mean, truly nothing for them there on A. As you said, NV just have it locked down at every single corner. They're going to have to try and be more forceful in certain areas.
Victor initially out into mid just to check, but he'll very quickly pull back from that position. We've got V1 with a very passive setup right now to try and vie for mid control. They have been able to move up and get garage doors, but nothing really being postured for at the mid window, or at least nothing that they've been able to jump out for just as of yet. So gonna investigate towards the A site instead here. Player 1 leading the charge here. Obviously an eco for version 1, so don't expect anything crazy unless they're able to find themselves an edge on entry, which, to be fair, they have done that once already with that long C take a couple rounds back, but Envy can be very much ready for that type of play here. They're also holding incredibly passive hold on their angles. We are going to see the From the Shadows work its way out from V1 deep into the A site, and it works out to actually getting canceled maybe at the last second there, if I heard the sound correctly. But either way, FNS can't do a thing about it from the inside of Heaven. Dark cover is going to obscure him. He'll be forced to rotate back down into the tunnel here, and V1 will take very solid control of the site. We're going to see that lockdown, but you already can tell Effie's in position to immediately counter that out. We were seeing that used a lot last week in the open qualifier as well. So great work from Effie's to immediately take care of that, not causing any worries in the post play. Crashies still making impact, and Celsius with a miss here, but he makes up for it, is able to work his way forward with Vanity as well. The Bucky's making some serious impact just when it seemed like Envy was going to be able to battle their way back out onto the site. Victor left alone now, a 1v3 set before him, has the hot hands to cover the tunnel, working its way out from defender spawn here. He's going to get revealed, has to swing, but he gets the kill anyway. Hot hands, or excuse me, we're going to see the curveball go out to cover it, but no, Effie's shuts it down instead. So close for Victor, but unable to solidify in that final frag.
Well, I said they had to get forceful, but I didn't think it was going to be on the eco round. But hey, I mean, beggars can't be choosers, man. Version 1 making it work with the A execute, and did it in such convincing fashion as well. Although Victor with a hell of a chance there in the dying moments, almost had it on that last curveball, but the classic right click just could not save the day. Version 1 finally finding their first round on an economy. And that means they're going to actually have some pretty solid economy rolling into this next round. Rifles for all of them.
Whoa,
whereas for Envy, it's not looking too hot. And that's going to make it even worse as Vanity takes down Caboose.
Race car peak from V1. Caboose is not ready for it, and he gets himself run over, unfortunately. Not going to be able to do much for the rest of this round. FNS, though, with a lurk right now, and a big one at that. Walks in. That's a free pick on V1. Player 1, excuse me, from V1. Nothing he can do about that. Plant's going to go down without much contention either due to the free C long control that V1 was able to gather for themselves a couple seconds ago. Now Envy trying to garner for positions to retake primarily from Garage, but you'll notice Zelsis, we've been following for some time now, walking right up behind these players. Going to be able to get another free pick, this time against FNS. Vanity presses into the Garage to confirm Victor as well. Only Crashies and Mame left alive here, and never mind, both of them go down to Vanity as well, who tears his way through Garage, picks up a 4K on the round, and a very much needed round overall for V1 will go up onto the scoreboard.
So version 1 now opting to just bully their way onto sites. Granted, that round obviously going to be a touch easier for them given Envy's situation, but still very well executed when it came down to that C take, as well as dealing with Envy while they try to reclaim space inside of Garage as well as Grass. Working Zelsis back down there to actually handle that situation was just so smart when it comes down to it. They knew exactly what Envy wanted to do and end up getting quite a few frags for it. So solid stuff. Now Envy, though, with rifles, they'll have an opportunity to try and fight back. And along for the ride as well is an operator. So now, actually into the round, lots of action already to behold. Mummy's gonna have a big miss. He can't get the kill. Oh no, Mummy! It's gone so wrong for him in version 1, now with control of A.
Version 1 once again able to bully their way out onto the site, getting that control. Vanity ready to plant. Actually gets down onto the ground here in a second. Player 1 in the meantime, FNS, you there? As he's just going to walk right into him. FNS not paying attention there to the connector, is going to get taken down. Crashies and Zelsis will trade blows among each other, but Zelsis comes out the winner. Only one player left alive for Envy. It's Caboose from Heaven. Penny makes quick work of it, and V1 secure their third.
I think V1 are finally starting to get comfortable. I mean, when you come into this matchup as an underdog like version 1 and you're going against a team like Envy, it's always going to be very difficult to get that out of your psyche. But once you start getting those rounds together and you start feeling that confidence, right? You see your name in the kill feed, taking down players like Mame, you know, Victor, all these kind of people, you start to get that special dust around you. And that's what it feels like version 1 are finally leaning into, is being able to play their style of Valorant. And right now, it's just working so well for them. You can definitely see off these swings just how confident they are inside of these lineups. Granted, Envy on the eco as of right now as V1 forces their way up C long.
We get a big swings. We're about to see one working its way out through C long itself here. FNS ready for the challenge and is able to pick up one before getting traded out by Effie's. Caboose trying to take a shot too, but he has to dodge back inside of that cover, working his way to the safety, relative safety that is, of the Garage anyway here. Mame pulling back both of his stars for use on re-entry, more than likely try and throw that utility out later in the round and hopefully used for better purposes here. Eldrin going to go out, get some good intel that there is a pretty heavy stack working its way. Oh no, here we go. This is the showstopper combined with the pull as well, but no, it's denied. Penny's position is so powerful. He gets the double from the back lane, and with that, V1 have this locked into a 1v2. Not a whole lot left that Crashies can do here, especially when he only has the pistol to play off of. Hops over. We'll get himself a Vandal, actually, which will be much better suited for this long angle over here at C-Long itself. Gonna play into that. Good shock dart works its way out. Try to make impact, but again, not forcing anything from these players. There's the peek finally from player 1. Knows Vanity's on the right too, but just can't handle it. It's too much pressure against him. Player 1 takes him down, and version 1 gets themselves yet another round.
That one a little scarier than initially first thought, but mostly just Envy able to find some frags on the entry from version 1 there. And, you know, it's just going to amount to at least a decent amount of damage to the economy. But, I mean, look at it right now, Blue. Like, how are you going to try and fight through that? That's just another buy on top of everything for all these players except Vanity. He literally just has to, like, breathe on somebody, and that guy's got enough money for a gun and another heavy shield. So, kind of a difficult situation right now for Envy, as their economy's not looking too hot. Really need to start dealing some damage to version 1.
V1 on the prowl, specifically at mid, pretty much ready to take garage control this early in the round. The Owl drone will go first, though, spotting out FNS and forcing him back deeper into the actual C site. Victor, of course, is a bit of a focus right now, too. He's been able to work his way all the way up to the top of short. He knows player one sitting in the corner. Oh, and it's an absolute execution. Not just that short. Mame also having great results from the back of the B site as he gets a double for himself. Now, still pressure boiling on the site. He's not out of the hot seat just yet. Crashes in for the assist from a link, but ultimately Mame still holding in the back lane, shuts it down against FBs, as we're going to see another round picked up here by Envy. Finally, a much needed response after it seemed like V1 were really taking over these past couple rounds.
Well, a much more aggressive showing from Envy here as well. I just don't think that they've really had the opportunity to try and get in version one's face like that in these previous ones. This time they finally have the economical, well, not advantage, but just they have the economy to actually get what's needed to make this happen. And mostly just the control from Mame inside of B that really made version 1 bleed there. Even the initial exchanges weren't all for naught. They were still having some like decent intel when it came over towards like A-Long and things like that. Granted, we did see somebody die, but you know, it all can be righted if you end up winning out in a 4 versus 5. Just not really winnable when it gets down to that 2v5 scenario. But as of right now, lots of abilities going down, lots of utility usage, ults flying through as well, but nobody really dying just yet. Finally, player 1 to fall. Envy in the driver's seat, but not fully. Version 1 with a lot of control on C, but they have a lot of people to worry about as well, and they'll clear out the entire shop. Penny takes down Mame, FNS falls as well.
Gravity Well trying to be used there in the midst of that battle from Mame to try to control the situation, but it's a little too late. V1 push right past it, flood the site, get that full control, putting us into the 4v2. Crashies, along with Victor, going to try to play aggressively here. And to Crashies' credit, he makes it pretty far into the site before being spotted, but ultimately shut down when they finally take the engagement. V1 retake the immediate control they seem to have just lost. That's also going to put Envy in a bit of a peculiar spot now, too. The money still not great here. 3 players can't afford full buys, so they can try to push for something here. And it looks like Crashies is going for it, but he's the only one so far. So we'll see if that remains the case or if there's going to be a lighter touch taken by the team ultimately.
Okay, well, we're gonna let him get this figured out. As for a second that we saw Vandal, now we see a Sheriff. I mean, Envy really thinking hard about this one and how it's going to affect their future. And instead of going for the Vandal, they do opt for that Sheriff on Crashies instead. But FNS, excuse me, will still have the Spectre. So
that's his evil twin.
That's his evil twin. Yes, exactly. FNF. Gotta watch out for that guy and the FNAF fans as well.
He's warned his fans about that one. Yeah. Either way. We're going to see V1 play a much slower take this time. Just trying to play for picks a little bit more here. Envy at the same time, not trying to push too aggressively into the V1 side of the map here either. Just good amounts of respect being given out by both teams here as we're going to have a very quiet first 30 seconds of this round. We'll change very quickly though. V1 going to come booming out into A-Long because they have not had an opportunity to previously clear it. They do have to be cautious of somebody from Envy potentially being aggressive here. In the meantime, Victor going to have to take close contact. Remember, Envy are on the eco here, so needing to try and give themselves the greatest chance they can to win out these duels. And no one's going to check the corner. It's a shutdown potentially. Victor gets 2. Crashy fends off the only player that made it past him. He's got the wall to heal himself. Vanity, of course, cuts off the flank, but that's such a small consequence at this point in the round. The spike is already down on the A site. The 2 remaining players of V1 have to play into this engagement. And even worse, Envy have upgraded their firepower here. Victor getting the Phantom, Caboose and Crashies both having Vandals off of the dead bodies. What exactly can you do here if you're FBs now?
Nothing, really. I mean, the recon's gone. He has some shock darts to play around with, but with only 8 seconds, unless he's miraculously able to teleport and kill all of these people, I don't see this happening. Instead, he's going to sit around on main, actually able to get 2 here, not able to get the 3rd, but really wouldn't have mattered anyway. The timer had finally gotten to FBs, and Victor seals the deal with that quad kill. Amazing, amazing stuff there from Envy. Version 1, what is going on, guys? The utility just coming in, perfect example right here. The utility coming in not the proper order. And I really hate to say that. Obviously, I know I'm the new guy here, I get it. but it just came in the wrong way. They didn't have the intel, nor did they clear the area in which we see Envy actually playing, and that's exactly what bites version 1. They think that since it's an eco round, it's going to be, simply put, easy. They smoke off, they dash in with everybody, they don't even really throw a Lear up. Reyna just walks into sight, and then Victor just kills all of them. That's not how that's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have the Owl drone or a recon dart or some semblance of information to get that to go off the way that you want it.
The forward play, the unexpected play that always ends up getting the better of the unprepared opponent, as we just see there on the previous round from V1. So they'll head into the final round of the half. Those lost guns from Envy at the end of the 3v1 not even being a big deal because it is the last round. FNS again, a corner that's not checked, unfortunately, because of the fact that we have Nano Swarms along with Gravity Wells holding back the rest of the execute. They can't check it here, but still, impact is being made on the trade. Zelsis with a very important pick against Mame. Zelsis, another one as well, battling his way through the garage window, all up onto B and getting control of the site for free here. Hasn't called his team into it just as of yet, but they're definitely going to be considering that option, especially after winning out that fight. A third 1v1 win for Zelsis, and we're going to start seeing the rotates work their way in. Crashies, the only one left who can stop this. The B site now under their control, but here's the thing, Crashies, they don't know where he is. He walks out. That's the spike down on the ground. Crashies with control of it. And only 30 seconds for V1 to make up the difference here now. Crashies is playing with fire as well, though. He's got to be cautious. Doesn't have great intel about the two remaining V1 players, and as a result of that is trying to follow one of them. Vanity going all the way out through mid and around through long again to re-entry into the site. Where exactly Zelsis sit as well. Remember, he was at B. He's going to be holding the extremity at C long here. Crashies walks right up behind it, and it's another free opportunity for him. He shuts it all down. A massive clutch from Crashies. Mastery of the map control nets it over to Envy as they're going to take the lead 7-5 at halftime.
The brain on this man, folks. He knew exactly what version 1 were doing inside of that round right when he got that kill onto Sova. He recon darts the ground and was aware of where Reyna's positioning was. So what does he do? Instead of playing the site, which would ultimately have gotten him killed, you saw how prepared version 1 were for him peeking on that back, and they were so tunnel visioned, it's insane. So Crashies makes the early move, the early investment, knowing that they're going to try and plant for long here, and takes full advantage of the situation. What a read and what a play from Crashies.
So Envy take an even larger lead here now. V1 seem to have the situation read, specifically on the C site, and best of all, weren't overplaying their hand from what I could tell up until that very final moment there. Crashies reinserting himself into the engagement from Garage and playing it out from that point forward. Absolutely beautifully done in the 1v3 clutch from him, and a very well-deserved extra round going into Envy's bank as a result of that clutch. To see both of the info darts work their way out here, trying to get a little info on both of the teams early on. Not going to be much gathered from that, though, except for V1, as we, yeah, we're going to have a little, just ignore that. We're going to send that to the Boombot repair store. We'll take a look at him later.
I was going to say, I think we might need to send it to the vacuum repair shop down the road, because that thing is not operating up to snuff. It's just not up to code at all. I also heard, did you know that vacuum explodes? Kind of scary if you think about it. Not necessarily something you want in your house.
Really untrustworthy, design. So gotta be cautious of that. Moving into the action for this round here, we're going to see Envy start to lurk up on the A site relatively quickly. Short contact's going to be made first with the long play happening just a couple seconds behind here. Victor goes in. We've got Nebulas covering off both of the primary retake angles as well, both Heaven as well as the tunnel leading out to Defender spawn. So Effie's going for some shock dart play a little bit too far to the right, needs to angle it slightly differently in order to find the impact on FNS. Zelsis already on a flank as well here, immediately coming in to shut down Mame, but Caboose has the front line held, takes down one, gets a dink onto another. FNS inside of the big cubby trying to hold off, but it's a close battle coming down to Zelsis ultimately for V1. He can't make it happen, though. Crashies gets the solidifying kill, and Envy will hold on to their lead at the beginning of the second half.
Fantastic rotations coming in from Envy there, and that's exactly why they won that round. Able to get in behind Zelsis this time instead of him pulling off a fantastic flank. So solid stuff for them there on the pistol. That's going to translate well into this next round. Now, the previous half, Blue, we saw some really weird stuff happen with version 1 on this particular round. That round right after pistol, where it's either the full save or the full send, and it looks like we're going full send once again.
might be the case for sure here, as V1 do not want to take that lost pistol lightly, especially when they're already sitting at a 3-round deficit here. Nearly had some decent results on their previous force back on the attacking side here. Trying to see the recon dart go in, does find out the position of Vanity, forces him on the outside of the window too. Won't really be able to play to the inside of that position anymore. That means Garage Control ceded to Envy, but they're not going to do anything with it. They are actually going to end up backing out, playing in towards mid once again here, trying to get a better grasp on the situation before they fully commit themselves, especially now that they've more than likely at least have an inkling to the fact that V1 have invested in this round, assuming they got any fire back from Vanity, that is.
Oh, this could be problematic. Hopefully the Owl drone checks the corner. It will, and the Bucky won't find a head today. Great stuff there by Envy. Scary moments there for a split second, as version 1 had already engrossed around C and B, prepared for what was about to happen from Envy. But it's the fake anyways. They take down Reyna inside of C long and immediately hightail it to B, finding frags along the way inside of grass.
FNS on the lurk here, nearly finding out 2 members of V1 just a second ago. The timing, not panning out for him, and it gets even worse on that reswing too. Alarmbot going to immediately get eaten up by the Cypher on the other side of the play there. Player 1 taking care of that. So it's a very, very cautious post plan here for Envy. Penny finding the first response against them, but Victor and Mame seem to be handling the situation quite well. Effie's now the only one still left standing in the 1v4 here. He has himself the Bucky to play off of too, and I believe his position is already relatively well known by the Envy roster, so just waiting out his swing. He's obviously not going to commit to it here, as he knows he's been found out, trying his best to do damage to the economy at this point, but even that's going to be a tough ask. He'll be working his way into a very long angle here in a second. A blast pack blocking his way in fact. He even goes down to it as well. Kind of unfortunate timing, as he just took a whole volley of bullets, but there you go. That last little tap knocks him out and secures the round for Envy.
That's the coolest thing about a lot of the utility in this game, is just the different ways that it can be possibly used. Like right there, what you would normally see done with a C4 pack and what we're used to seeing with Raze is sort of flying around the map and doing all of these different things, but you can actually use them for controlling space like we saw right there. They don't do all of the damage in the world, but they do enough to where it has to be respected, and that's the biggest deal. I mean, it got the kill right there, but even so, for all those Raze players at home, think about that when you have those C4 packs on. You can always toss one of those out, make your enemy respect you just a little bit more inside of those engagements. But now, Envy, mainly focused on A for the time being, do have Killjoy out towards mid, so could always swing back at a moment's notice, but so far so good. Good info when they're out onto site. Player 1, the only player that exists here, he's already taken down.
Nebula's quickly covering off all of the extremities here. That Star going to get placed a little bit too low, so they have to pull that back really quickly. But either way, Envy has the plant down onto the ground. And for V1 here, a full investment for the most part from them. So they're going to have to make a attempt to retake into this site. Here's the problem though, man. Envy thinking 3 steps ahead as always. FNS walking right into the B site. First one's for free. Second one's going to be a bit more difficult though, as it's Zelsis leading the charge there. He gets the trade, keeps us even at a 3v3, but again, wastes time. Pulls a good 5 to 10 seconds away from the actual retake effort. It's going to start with a bang though. Penny getting not 1 but 2 on the re-entry, and Zelsis sealing the deal. V1 coming out of nowhere with that one. Envy don't even know what hit them. A very much needed win for V1. Will take control of that one and put themselves only 3 rounds away from their opponent.
That's a tough break there for FNS. Amazing lurk, able to get in behind the entire team of version 1 in a link, and even considered the trigger discipline there for just a moment. You'll see the hesitation, and then he finally kills Omen. He's like, all right, cool, we're gonna go for this. But what's it do? It gives him away to the rest of the squad. They're attentive to the situation, and they immediately fry him as he walks around the corner. Just a tough break there for Envy, as it seemed everything was going their way, but version 1 just better in that regard.
Now, a bit of a bonus round there, to be fair, for Envy, at least for most players it was. FNS obviously being the big difference maker there, since I think he had himself the Phantom in the previous round. But either way, he's going to have to go down to a frenzy, whereas the rest of the team will still be able to fully reinvest. A little bit of an awkward one, but hey, one player goes down, FNS can pick that gun up. It's not that big of a deal. He's got his ult as well, so he'll make up more than make up for that. Penny, taking an immediate contact here as well, and even using the entirety of the Blade Storm. Not finding much in terms of results from that, except for a little bit of damage on the Caboose and Victor. But aside from that, he gets a lot of info, and more importantly, keeps himself alive, gets out of that situation without being traded at any point. So still going to be able to play out the 5v5. Here comes the lockdown, though. The execute more than likely just a couple seconds behind this. Zelsis wants to try and control his own fate, but it won't happen. Victor knocks him out, and that lockdown, well, it's certainly going to go off now. No way to stop that here. And he's trying to get up close, but the timing, man, just not paying off for him. Caboose shutting down Penny just a millisecond before he would have been able to get that shot off. The lockdown hitting him. Effie's also affected by this. Vanity would have had to have defended him there for a couple of seconds. But unfortunately for version 1, even though they're here now, they're at the gates, they're ready to retake, there's just no point anymore. Envy have too much control over the situation, and version 1 know basically nothing about what the actual post-plant setup looks like. They'd basically be gambling on a retake there. It's best to just try and save their guns for the next engagement here and give Envy the lead for now.
Yeah, it looks like player 1 will at least get a frag for his troubles, possible rifle, but problem is now it's outside a garage and he doesn't necessarily want to walk out and try and find that. FNS now waiting to see if he will make the greedy play and leave his cave. Don't think it's going to happen, though, as he does have Sova here still holding the lineup as well. Just waiting for the spike to go off in between these two. This round so far, pretty crazy. Oh, no, FNS, not like that. He's going to shoot the body as well. Oh, the BM coming out from Envy, really taking it to version 1 right now. And taking it to him in that last round as well. I mean, we saw some aggressive stuff here from Penny, but just as we both thought, Blue, the Killjoy ult shuts the gun off right before he's able to shoot, and he's just a paperweight. He's just simply floating there doing nothing, and
he's just a free kill for Envy at that point, basically.
He's like
a little brutal, but
you guys know when you go to the the training range, he's one of those dummies that spawn. That's what he looks like right there. I mean, dude, you can't do anything if you're Penny right there. It's just hard. Yeah. It's really, really difficult. So now Vanity and V1 ready for this execute from Envy, very harshly onto C. It's the run it back off rip. Player 1 able to clean up Caboose, but Victor fires back.
Victor is going to take some heat from that, though. No hot hands available either, so he is going to have to use the wall to try to get himself back up to full HP, or at least as close to that as he can get. Shockdart working its way in there for the post-plant hit, but it's going to come a little bit too late. I don't even think the position is correct for it. Cosmic Divide coming out here as well now from Envy to try to work their way back in and reassert better control over the situation here. Really make this awkward for V1 as they have to go past that wall with no sound intel to play off. And meanwhile, Mummy's getting all of it because he's on the other side of the wall here. Ultimately going to be left up to him, though, as the retake from V1 still looking good. Mummy bringing it down to a 1v1, though. Dark cover to play off of here, too. He's going to try to push himself forward. Hops to the inside. Oh, and the flick from Mummy to shut it all down. Had the wrong position initially, but he corrects. He shuts it down, and he secures the 11th for Envy.
Oh man, that right there shows you exactly why Mame was just so oppressive on the last Haven that we saw played from him with this exact character. Look at this wall, folks, and remember, this does not allow sound to pass through it. So that safe net in the back of the actual site for Mame is exactly what wins them that round. They can't hear him at all. He can do whatever he wants, and he simply waits out the timer, waits for that perfect moment to hop out from behind the curtain and surprise everybody with a huge moment for Envy.
That's really the craziest thing about it, too, was he was on the other side of that wall when he tried to re-entry for the 1v2 because his teammates had failed to hold the line. V1 actually got past that wall and worked their way into the site. So he was basically playing with no sound intel himself upon going through that wall, and the fact that he knew they both were on the other side. He was just blind past that point. So really impressive stuff from Mame to battle back that situation that almost got out of hand very quickly. Envy, in the meanwhile, going to walk right onto the C site here in round 18. No challenge at all from V1 as they're on a light buy here. They're going to have to try and play for retake, if anything at all.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a really, really big issue, especially with a site like this when you're trying to contest long range up against rifles. It's just not going to work out in your favor. Definitely want to play those closer angles with the weaponry they have available. But now it's gotten to be even more drastic. Recon Bolt out for Crashies. Hunter's Fury for Effies is we could have a possibility of a plant here, or at least a defuse, excuse me. 2 big kills, but Crashies and Caboose get some of their own as well. All of a sudden down to the 2 versus 2 as Vanity picks up yet another. Caboose fires back. Vanity trying to hold down the line. Caboose trying to escape. He's going to be able to do so. Vanity gets taken out by the spike explosive, and Envy find map point.
Envy actually very, very close to losing that one on the initial retake attempt from V1. Obviously, they were allowed to flood back into the site. Envy having so many ults to utilize there, most notably the Hunter's Fury to try and put a lot of pressure on that spike diffuser and ultimately, I think, kill at least one of the players that attempted to do that. But they realized very quickly that, okay, we actually don't have enough presence anymore, especially with Smokes blocking off C Long. Had to try and really awkwardly battle their way up through Long to get back into that site. And thankfully, well, they were never really able to fully retake take it, they weren't able to waste enough time off of that default plant in order to waste out the rest of the explosion period. So good stuff from Envy, just a little scary there for a moment. More pressure coming out from them, and it's going to work too, but at the same time, Vanity able to make some impact here for V1 as they're pressing in hard on Envy's take, and it's worked. Shutting them down. Looked like Envy had control, especially at the long angle at first, but never mind. The short play from V1 is perfect and kills the entire back line of this setup, leaving only FNS alive in a 1v3.
They're just too strong when it comes down to these types of engagements. They're so good at being able to trade themselves out, and it seems like a flurry, but it's calculated by both sides. Version 1 just playing that a little bit better in the trade department, simply had more bodies when it came down to it. Now FNS inside of this 1 versus 3, he probably won't attempt to do too much, at least his economy right now, but could always try and do some harm towards Version 1, since this is a very recent buy. Being able to force any of them to rebuy is going to be a really, really big deal.
And we'll go down for FNS. Nearly loses himself in the plan itself as well. Just barely gets behind the main B doorway before being caught out there. Gonna try to complete the wrap all the way past both of the links. This is going to be a very aggressive position. He could find himself taken down quickly. There's the first pick, but the problem is the separation is there for Penny. His death ignites the kill potential for Zelsis, allows him to pick it up pretty much for free there, unless we saw a crazy flick from FNS. With that, V1 finally going to pick up a round here.
Well, we got one crazy flick. We just didn't get the other one. It was you know, we didn't get the BOGO that we were really hoping for. You know, went to the mall and just didn't have it in stock, I guess. It doesn't work out that way.
You got the Bodo instead.
Exactly.
Buy one, dead one.
I've ever told you I love working with you. I love working with you. Anyways, getting back to the things that actually matter besides John and I's love life. Envy in version 1 as of right now. I mean, Envy, they look extremely dominant throughout most of this map, but version 1 just explosive when it comes down to it, and they continue to catch Envy off guard in certain rounds. It doesn't really matter what it is either. It could be an eco buy, it could be anything. There's just these certain areas where version 1 seem to thrive that Envy simply can't work around, but that doesn't mean that the things have changed up all too much. Granted, Zelsis does pick up Crashies, but Envy still on map point. Zelsis with an opportunity, switches out rifles and still gets it! What a fantastic play! V1 are all over Envy as Envy tried to work their way onto A.
That was actually a really good heads-up play right there from Zelsis.
So
he didn't even like think about it either. He just did it. Like, just immediately goes for the pickup here. He's like 3/4 of the way through it. Like, he's like, oh, you can see he's low. He's got like 8 or 9 shots left. Oh, here's another one. Let me just pick this up real quick. Just keep spamming. No problem at all. I got a fresh new gun. Why not? So great stuff from him right there to really, well, disallow his opponents to get anything out of that corner right there. And overall for V1 to shut that round down. Definitely not done with this map, just as of yet here. Envy's been sitting on map point for a couple of rounds now, but having problems closing it out, and even gonna get forced onto an eco. Penny really looking to pressure this as well. Paranoia coming in for the assist. We are going to see the Nova Pulse go down, though, and that's going to injure Penny here slightly, forcing him back. Still keeping him in safe quarters, though, as it looks like we're going to get a dark cover out from V1 to support Penny's retreat.
Although it is an eco for Envy, it is already been made extremely difficult. A kill on the Crashies, so much damage onto Caboose. Likely no opportunity to try and get this down. At least a plant here for some money. Victor finds a winner, but no, player 1 actually the jackpot instead. You assumed that it was going to be Envy on the entry, but oh no, it's player 1 all the time. A triple kill with the flank coming in from version 1 as well to close off this round. Envy have some rifles for this next one as they look to close it out.
Some great retake positioning there from V1. Never once worried about their overall safety inside of that round, especially with the aggressive tendency they started the round off with, those really crazy swings out through C long. To be fair on the response, Mame had himself a couple of very nice Nova pulses. The first one, not really translating much, but that second one giving them a great lead-off kill to get them at least into the B site and give them a bit more room to work with. Just didn't clear out those other extremities, and as well, the retake coming in just a little bit too quickly there for V1, on top of the fact they were already working with lackluster gun power. It's not a round they could win. This is the one we want to focus on, though, as obviously you guys can see full rifles for the entirety of the Envy roster. They are ready to try and shut this one down here and now, and they better speed it up, too, because version 1 is very close behind, only 3 rounds back. That's a good start for them, though. This time, Zelsis is getting caught trying to make that same aggressive play at C long, giving Envy the opening advantage of 5v4.
Now, all I'm trying to say is, I think Envy have caught on to version 1 and what they're doing. Kind of a big surprise, big shocker, I know. I mean, all this aggressive play, you'd assume that it would happen earlier, right? But no, it's not the case. Envy now, though, making the adaptation, knowing that version 1 are not slowing down this time around, where we had seen them do that in the past, and that made it to where Envy's pacing was back and forth. They didn't know really what the next initial step was going to be for version 1. Instead, just playing it close to the chest, not wanting to give up too much. But that's exactly what happened, since version 1 was being so forceful inside of the gunfights. But as of now, Envy currently poised in the middle of the map, waiting around to see what the next move is going to be. It's going to be the Killjoy set up for C, and there is nobody home right now for version 1.
Lockdown out. Here's the thing, though. You see V1 Vanity walking right up there, and he finds that lockdown, and is actually a bit surprised to find it from the looks of things. Possibly a distraction, though, as we've got the rest of Envy working their way into the B site. Without much of an issue, Vanity causing some problems, though, as he's able to lurk his way back into a Shrouded Step. Gets a double before ultimately getting traded out and leaving the entire map into Effie's hands now. 1v3 set before him. Oh no, the showstopper available here as well for Caboose from the looks of things. No shot ringing out just as of yet from what we can see. Effie's realizes that, so he's going to back this one up, wait for it to go off, and there it is. Will be safe to lurk back in through C-Link now and try to retake the site. Cosmic Divide going down in the midst of the site too, making those two other players to his right extremity that much more difficult to spot out here. Ball's gonna go away in a second, though. There's the first re-engagement, and he immediately goes down. Crashy seals the deal again, and when he did at the end of the last half as well, and Envy takes control of map number 1.
Great stuff there from Envy, and what an adjustment, Blue. They go for the fake KJ ult inside of Garage. That's not something that we see that often. Excited, though. That's awesome. I mean, being able to bait out, you know, player movement and things like that is a huge aspect of Valorant. If you're able to get some people off of a certain bomb site, you can go back and re-hit it. And that's a big thing, is that you don't only do that with a singular piece of utility. Sometimes risking the biggest piece that you have is the gambit that was needed to win the game, and that's exactly what we just saw go down with Envy. Such a big brain play, and we saw that happen throughout that entire series, although we did see a very aggressive and seemingly poised version 1. I really like what we saw from them inside of that map.
Similarly to Anbox, we saw moments of greatness there, and nearly enough to bring them back into the series at the end, especially on their defensive half there. But ultimately, the lead set in front of Envy earlier on in the match was enough of a lead for them to be able to close out, take control of that initial engagement. Now, that's only map 1, folks. We've got potentially 2 more of those maps coming up right around the corner. Do stick with us, and we'll be coming up with that second map between these two fantastic teams right after this.